Okay, Scott, so we are here about to unbox the Hero Black edition, the cool one, and we just want people to sort of know what's in the box and how to get this thing out and up and running, right?
Notice the most important implement.
Yeah, Scott's got the knife, I don't.
So here's the thing. This packaging sucks, pretty much, but
well, it's highly protective and designed to cut down on theft at consumer retail stores.
Which makes no sense since they mailed this to me.
Yeah,
but
they do. I bought one the other day at Best Buy. It actually popped up there. So most companies don't have separate retail versus mail packaging.
What this is the top of the line GoPro. Retails for $3.99. It's the GoPro Hero3 Black edition. They're starting to sound like video games.
Yeah,
The main key point to know here is that this is the one capable of 4K. It comes with a built-in Wi-Fi remote that controls up to 50 of these cameras. Also, it works with the GoPro app. It does have the 12 megapixel 30 frame burst, which is not available in the lesser brand. Almost all of them have Wi-Fi, I believe now. But I'm going to show you how to open it because it's actually kind of tricky.
Yeah, and we're going to go through the things that are included inside and get it up and charging.
Okay, so very important. There's a little tab here that they want you to pull, and sometimes this works. It did this time. Now,
he says this time since he's a bit addicted, and this is the third one, I believe. And actually, I have two. So.
Yeah, usually I have to cut there. So I have the knife just in case. And yes, there's another one. And you probably can't see. There's a little tiny arrow that says point down. And I think it's, they want you to know that you're supposed to pull this tab off. It shouldn't be this hard, folks, but it is. Now.
Then you get a friend to hold one end while you pull the other end.
Yes. Now, this becomes like the Triton 3 booster rocket.
Yeah.
This has now been separated.
Although while there is a lot of information,
you don't want to throw this away because it tells you where all the buttons are and what they do. Yeah. But for the purposes of getting into orbit,
yes,
we have now reached lunar orbit.
But there is no printed manual in the box, so if you like having something in your hands, keep that.
That's as close as it gets. Now, again, in theory, this arrow says pull that way. It does sometimes work. We're going to try. And yes, it works this time. Remember, I have this just in case. And
actually, he has that so he keeps his camera in as opposed to I get a third camera.
Here's the thing. I think I've scared it into working properly. So we're going to pull this off. And again, you're probably saying to yourself, this sure seems like a lot of crap to go through, but it's the way it goes.
Oh, we haven't even begun. So.
Now, notice that the lunar modular lander comes off. Now, here is where most people start to run into problems.
You're going to be tempted to start just ripping things apart, but you actually need to be careful here.
Yeah, this thing is connected to this thing. So here's the deal. There's a thing that says remove right back here. And I don't know if I'll get it right or not, but I'm going to try. What Rich and I have decided is, rather than do this while it's all installed, is we're going to take the camera out of the waterproof airtight housing. Now, the new GoPro has a slightly different lever on top, Rich. It's harder to work, in my opinion, but I think they redid it because it's more airtight.
Yeah, it's harder to accidentally open as well. It requires, instead of just a single lift up, you have to sort of push and pull at the same time.
So this little button has to be slid to the left, and this one has to be pulled up. And then it has to be reversed. So it's Sound effects are no extra charge, people. And now out comes the actual GoPro Hero 3. It's 20 to 30% smaller and lighter all the way around. This little door comes off.
You will lose it.
It will be lost at some point in time. So if they sell extra ones, you'll want to buy them. Or just some people just leave them off because it doesn't matter. You have HDMI out. You have SD card. It's the micro SD.
It's the you'll lose it guaranteed buy extras micro SD card.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those either, but they decided they wanted to make it small, and that was the way they did it. And this is your USB in and out. This is sort of like the cochlea.
Yeah, that's how you're going to be charging the device. So it comes with a USB cable, and you'll need to plug this into your computer or a cell phone charger or something like that to charge up the device. It doesn't actually ship with the charging device. Yeah. Or it's also how you could plug it into an external battery or use this directly plugged into a camera, plug the camera into the computer so you can read the card off if you don't happen to have a card reader handy.
You can also plug in a microphone adapter. So this is both an in and an out. On the back side is this little button you pull, and then the way you want to do this is just let it fall open. That's where the battery goes.
Yes, which is not pre-installed.
So not pre-installed. So if you think you're going to just fire this puppy up, I'm sorry to tell you you're not. So that's where that is. On this side, this is the Wi-Fi button. Very important to know about this button because here's the deal. You can turn this camera off and think it'll be left in the morning ready to go. But if you forget to turn off the Wi-Fi, it will eat up all of your juice.
But the Wi-Fi is quite cool. It's allowing us to actually look through the camera lens to change settings, see the settings for the camera, and even remotely start and stop multiple cameras. So if you're covering an event or you have multiple cameras, this will keep you from having to climb up on the ladder and keep pushing buttons all the time.
So what we're going to do now is move the camera out of the way, and we're going to finish opening the box. And you see, before using your Hero3 camera, a product update is required. Please visit GoPro.com update.
Well, you see, people don't actually read those, but it's actually pretty important. These shipped before the software was completely done.
Yeah.
Remember, it takes a while to get those cameras out of China on the boat overseas. So they're going to need to get these updated so they're ready to use.
And they really have revolutionized manuals. It's a one-page manual.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and it's only 4 inches by 4 inches.
You put it under your tongue and you absorb knowledge, right?
Yes. And then there's a bunch of stuff that's useless. Now, right here, you'll see this little thing. There are 4.2 million little crosses of this cable.
Yeah, and these things can actually be quite sharp on your fingers. If you've got a pair of heavy-duty wire gauges, you can cut them. It's not enough just to untwist the two together. You then have to untwist both of the individual strands. Yes. So it's two strands twisted together and then twisted together again. I don't know. It just seems to be like a disaster waiting to happen.
Kind of reminds me of how my dry cleaner sends me my clothes. But we're letting you know all this in advance because I promise you, it takes a PhD in physics to open a GoPro.
Well, you're going to be excited because you just got it. You're ready to go. And don't rush through this because you don't want to damage the stuff as you're taking it apart. So you need to allow a good 10 minutes for the unboxing.
So now I have all of these cables undone, which allows me to, in theory, pull free the Wi-Fi keychain remote.
And this Wi-Fi keychain remote has the craziest proprietary charging cable that you are going to have to be extremely careful not to lose. You have to use just this cable to charge it. You unhook the keychain fob, and then you put in this charger cable that goes to a USB port. So fortunately, the remote holds a charge for quite some time, but that cable is the sort of cable where I'd be very hesitant about taking into the field.
So here we go. This little button here, you slide this, and that pulls out this deal here. Now, inside the box is a cable that has this kind of connector on it, which is like...
Oh, yeah, that's the Swiss J
it's
Wollheimer connector.
It is the most proprietary connector in the world. And but when it's in, you can hook it through your keychain, and you can see that... it has a little battery charge, but this will actually operate the entire camera. That is a very cool feature.
Yeah.
Now, you get one of these with each GoPro 3 Black you buy. You really only need the first one. You can also order this separately to work with any of the other GoPros that have Wi-Fi, so that's kind of cool.
Now, a lot of people would be tempted to go with the silver and order the remote when they need it, but the difference between silver and black is not just the remote. There's a huge difference with 4K video recording, and it also seems to me that we have some more flexibility with the field of view settings to punch in and do narrow field of view, so not everything has to be a wide shot or a medium shot.
And the 12 megapixel still image is not available on anything but the black.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so let's unhook that case off the top now. It looks like it's a little bit freer, and then we can pull out the guts of the box.
Now, I'm going to close this case just to get it out of my way here. And now comes the most delicate part of the operation. These two little black things sitting here. You have to pinch them and push. And as you do, it slides off this mount.
And you don't need that mount on top of the box for anything, although you might consider keeping it just as what we sometimes call a hi-hat. You could set it on a flat surface.
I was about to say, you could mount this like that. It is a hi-hat tripod. But most people break this upon taking the case off. Now, it's important to note that the Hero works without the case. The Hero works with a number of different accessories, which we'll show you in a minute. But this is the case itself, and this part right here, this little silver nut, and this little rotating black screw, which I can't turn at the moment because it's very tight, so I'm going to have to use a screwdriver to undo it. This comes off, this plate slides off, and you can put a number of different kinds of connectors on.
Yeah, that clip connector is very common, but they do make a simple threaded screw mount if you want to attach it to like a tripod head.
Right.
And they do have some other, both third-party and proprietary ones. You were mentioning, this is one of my favorites, to get it out of that plastic case, making it a little bit easier to access the ports and the buttons. That plastic case is great for sports, water, weather conditions, but I don't like to put extra plastic in front of the lens if I don't need it.
Well, you did a test and you found that the video quality is much better without it.
Yeah.
So the way this works, and this is something that's very important to note, is that
you feel like you're going to break it when you're putting it on.
Yeah, you do, but you can see the red button, and the red button, it lines up. And you do not want to put the mount on the bottom because you actually have to pull this thing apart. So you pull this thing apart. It's not necessarily apparent to those of you who haven't used it, and you slide it in here, and then you sort of close it around it like that. Now, this gives you the ability to get better audio and better video because the mics are more open, and the buttons all sort of push through, so you don't have any issues with getting access. You can open this door in advance here if you want to get access.
Yeah, that'll give you the USB port.
To the USB port. Now we're going to show you what's actually inside the box.
It's like a present.
Oh my gosh. There's one of these mounts.
Yep, and that's just going to give you a little bit of an angle, so if you have to get it further back from the mounting point. And you have two different adhesive types here. One is for curved surfaces and one is for flat surfaces. So a curved surface would be like a helmet.
Right. You actually can mount these things. I've never used them. I have 100 of them.
I've used some of them. The important thing is you have to let it dry overnight. Otherwise it's going to rip off. But when they do dry, it's pretty dang permanent.
And everybody wants to know what this thing is. It's a lock.
I thought it was for sleep apnea.
It's a lock, and if you're going to use these, you definitely want to use this lock because you don't want your camera flying off. They're more prone to fly off, in my opinion. There is another angle adapter, they call it, so that if you want to go horizontal, vertical, whatever, you can use this. This is the very unique, actually not unique, USB cable. This comes with a standard USB cable.
And that'll plug into any USB 2 or 3 port for charging and data transfer. You can use any cable there.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend, you've got one battery in your hand. I'm a believer in having 3 per camera.
All right. Yeah, you can order extra batteries. This is the battery, and it's really easy to install, unlike most things for the GoPro. You look at the little place where the 3 pins are. You turn the camera over.
The words always go on the top.
The words always go on the top. And you can see the 3 pins here and the 3 pins here. And you simply match them and you drop it in. And there's one nice design on this battery I really like is there's a kind of tape thing that you can pull to pull the battery out. I think that's a pretty cool design.
So you don't have to sit there shaking the camera.
Right. And you push down and now we see... It must have worked.
Yep, there's a little bit of juice in there.
All right. Now, there's some more stuff in here. This is the weird key charger.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that goes with this thing.
This is the thing I know I'm going to lose.
You have to pull this out, and then you stick this in here, and then you plug this into your computer. That's how this gets charged.
I would highly recommend when you get around to ordering some additional accessories, you order spare cable and, of course, some extra batteries while you're at it. Simple key ring to attach that. You can use any existing key ring you have, nothing proprietary.
Now, my favorite part, this is what you're really spending the $3.99 for.
Oh.
You get 3 GoPro stickers.
And I don't know what GoPro accessory I bought, but I got one that was like the size of a car bumper sticker. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it.
Now, this back is another back you can use because this is the waterproof back.
Yes.
With this back, you're not getting very much, if any, audio.
Right.
If you want to record audio, this back has 2 holes in it.
Of course, we all know that putting the microphone behind the camera is the best place to get the audio from your subject.
Well, what can I tell you?
That's why we could tell you to get the external audio cable and use the frame.
But you can see the difference. This would not be good for underwater at all.
Yeah, and if you do want underwater housings, they make them, including if you put an external battery on this, you can get a second battery on the back. That'll help. We actually have another episode. We're going to walk you through some of Scott's favorite accessories, and Scott should know because I believe he has every accessory.
I own every GoPro accessory that is made. That is everything you get in the box, folks. This is the GoPro Hero3 Black Edition, the top of the line. Rich and I love these little cameras. We use them everywhere, and it's our aim to convince you that you may be able to use these cameras in places you're not used to using them. They're great for time-lapse, stop motion, but with 12 megapixel still frames and a 30 frame per second burst rate capability, there may be some trick stuff. We'll get to that later. For now, we are going to have another episode. We'll talk more about accessories and other ways to use it. We're going to sign off today and say thanks for watching. For Rich Harrington, I'm Scott Bourne, and this is Photo Focus.